Namaste, friends. Good morning, very good morning to everybody. Today, these are the 10 sessions of the medical review of Bhagavad Gita, where we will explore or we will try to review the 700 shlokas, not exactly 700, but few of the shlokas which has the aspect of the medical terms and the medical aspects. Okay, so we will try to find out the health secrets from the Bhagavad Gita sutras. So before turning to the Bhagavad Gita, I would like to introduce myself. Myself, Dr. Ruchira Joshi. I'm an integrative consultant. Uh, I'm doing the consultations in the Ayurveda, yoga, as well as the Vedic astrology. I'm a holistic counselor and speaker also. Since last 10 years, I have been working in the field of yoga research or yoga researches. I'm an authorized yoga and Ayurveda tutor. I have conducted yoga workshops in medical scientific yoga at different diseases in Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Pune. I'm an lifetime association member of Indian Yoga Association. I have worked in different organizations as an academic and research head in SVSA Bangalore, as well as I have worked as a guest lecturer in Turk Maharashtra Vidyapit Pune and joint research fellow in Ayush Ministry also. I have a lot of publications. I have in international yoga research journals. We have along with our team, we have performed or we have developed the customized medical yoga protocols also. And since last 5 years, I'm working on in online coaching for different subjects like research methodology, Patanjali Yoga, Yoga Sutras, Hatha Yoga, and Bhagavad Gita. Basically, I'm a BMS, Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine. I have done my doctoral degree, MD, in yoga and rehabilitation from the SVSA Bangalore, and I have the degree postgraduate in Vedic astrology also. Okay, so after this brief introduction, I would like to go ahead towards our the subject, that is the medical review of Bhagavad Gita. First of all, I would like to thank you that you have shown your interest in the field of in the learning and again reviewing the Bhagavad Gita with the medical specs, okay, or to explore the secrets of the health in the Bhagavad Gita, okay. Because Bhagavad Gita is hardly reviewed with the medical aspect. So I would like to thank you all that you have shown the interest to review the Bhagavad Gita with the medical aspect or from the medical point of view. So, before reviewing Bhagavad Gita from the medical aspect, we would like to introduce you Bhagavad Gita initially, because it is very important to know the text, because it is a everybody knows that Bhagavad Gita has the 18th chapter as well as it has the 700 shlokas, okay, 700 sutras. So, before reviewing or before aspecting the Bhagavad Gita with a medical point of view, first of all, we should know that what is Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so little bit a short introduction about the Bhagavad Gita. In this presentation, we will see the etymology of Bhagavad Gita, what is Bhagavad Gita, origin of Bhagavad Gita, aims and objectives of writing or telling or discussing the Bhagavad Gita, what are the whole objectives of Bhagavad Gita, what is the significance of Bhagavad Gita, as well as the contraindications of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, this is a very new approach that who should not learn Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So let's start with the etymology of Bhagavad Gita. Basically, as the name suggests, Bhagavad Gita is consisting of two words, two Sanskrit words, that is Bhagvat and Gita. Okay, so Bhagvat means the Sanskrit name of the God, and Gita means the song. Okay, the song of the poetry. Okay, as we are aware that the Indian Vedic literature is full of poetries, okay, or full of epics. So Gita means the song, okay, it's a poetry, it's a uh, literature part, okay, and it is a song of the God. Okay, God has sung the song for his devotees. So Bhagavad Gita basically is a song of God. Okay, so especially the world on the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a very popular text or very popular poetry throughout the world, in India as well as throughout the world. But very few of us know that there are other Gitas also, okay, other songs also, other poetries also, which are equally equivalent as the Bhagavad Gita. So I would like to name first few of them like Anu Gita, Vyad Gita, Ganesh Gita, Ashtavakra Gita, Bhikshu Gita, Uddhav Gita, Guru Gita, Avdhut Gita, Ram Gita. Okay, so like that there are so many others also. So these are basically the epics, these are basically the songs, these are the literature where the similar subject like the Bhagavad Gita has been explored. So let's start about the Bhagavad Gita. What is Bhagavad Gita? Okay, basically, Indian Vedic wisdom is divided into three layers. That is Shruti Prasthan, Smruti Prasthan, and Nyaya Prasthan. So Bhagavad Gita is one of the Indian Vedic text or Indian wisdom text which comes under the Smruti Prasthan. Smruti means remembrance, okay, remembrance or memory. It is the Bhagavad Gita or whatever is the content or subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is edited, composed according to the remembrance, before 2000 years back, 5000 years back, there was no skill of writing. The people used to memorize the thing, in the Guru Shishya Parampara or in the devotee Parampara. So they used to remember that whatever is the knowledge used to get transferred from one person to the another person, depending on their remembrance. So this is called as a Smruti Prasthan. It depends, the whole wisdom, whole knowledge is depending on the Smruti, is depending on the memory. Okay, so all the subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita is edited, composed according to the remembrance, according to the memory of the human being. So this comes under the Smruti Prasthana. Bhagavad Gita is also considered as one of the Dharma Shastra, okay, or as a one of the religious book of Hinduism. Like Hinduism has another religious books like Manusmriti. So Bhagavad Gita is one of the important Dharma Shastra, where the dharma or the duty of the person is always described. Okay, the Bhagavad Gita is so significant that it has given the degree or the level of the Upanishad. Okay, so it is also called as so many times. So many people believe that it is one of the Upanishad. So it is called as a Gita Upanishad also. Because why it has given the degree of the Upanishad? Because all the essence of the Vedic knowledge is written or is described or is discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that basic matter or what is that knowledge is? It depends or it has been described about the basic truths about the Ishvara, that is a God or that is a creator of the universe, Jiva, the human beings, the living beings who are here on this planet Earth, Prakriti, the nature, Kala, that is the time, and the karma that we do. Okay, each and every living being is bound of the karmas, or each and every living being here is how to do something, some kind of action or non-action. Okay, so these 6 principles basically are described in Bhagavad Gita. That is the Ishvara, the creator, Jiva, that is the human beings or the living beings, Prakriti, that is the nature or the surroundings or the atmosphere on the earth, Kala, that is the time, which is a fourth dimension also, and the karma. Every living being is bound to do some kind of a karma. So all the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is revolving around these 5 concepts. Okay, Bhagavad Gita also talks about the social rules and regulations. If we'll consider about the human beings, Bhagavad Gita is also always talking about the duties of a human being. Let it be any part of the world. Let it be in any part of the world, Bhagavad Gita always talks about the social rules and laws. So what the human being has to behave on this earth, it always talks about these rules and regulation in the society, how a person should do or what a person should follow his duties. Bhagavad Gita is a whole book, ancient book about this. Okay. So this everything is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Let us talk about little bit of origin of Bhagavad Gita or the roots of Bhagavad Gita. Everybody knows that it is it is the discussion or it is a conversation between Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna. So it is told by Shri Krishna to the Arjuna. Arjuna was keeping asking the questions about the basic truths of the life, and Shri Krishna was answering all those queries and questions. It has been started before the battle of Mahabharata. Okay, somewhere 4,000, maybe 5,000 years back, there was a huge battle in India where almost 1.6 billion people has been killed. So here, before starting of this huge battle, the Bhagavad Gita or this concepts has been discussed or described. So it is a Bhagavad Gita is a part of a Mahabharata, which is Mahabharata has a total 40 chapters. Okay, and so you will find Bhagavad Gita in the Bhishma Parva. Okay, so there are different parts or different sections of Mahabharata, because Mahabharata is a huge ancient Indian epic. So there are Adi Parva, Sabha Parva, Varna Parva. There are different 18 chapters or 18 divisions of the Parva means the division. So 18 chapters of the Mahabharata. So Bhagavad Gita is basically described in the Bhishma Parva. Okay, so it is a book of a Bhishma, or in the chapter which is the sixth chapter of the Mahabharata, that is a Bhishma Parva. Okay. Now, talking about the aims and objectives of the Bhagavad Gita. Basically, there is only one goal of discussing all these 700 sutras, that is to purify the human body, mind, intellect, and the spirit. We know that we exist at 5 different levels. That is the Annamaya Kosha, that is the body, Pranamaya Kosha, that is the energy, Manomaya Kosha, that is the mind, intellectual Vijnanamaya Kosha, that is the intellect, and the Anandamaya Kosha, that is the spirit. Okay, so basic whole aim of Bhagavad Gita is to purify the human, this Panchakoshas, or basically, rather even the physical aspect, that is Annamaya Kosha, is not that subject matter or is least discussed in the scripts like Bhagavad Gita, but about the mind, about the intellect. If you want to purify the mind and the intellect of a person, then Bhagavad Gita is a very right book or is a very authentic script in the Indian wisdom. It is the basic aim of, because we keep on becoming Arjuna always. Okay, as we are living, we keep on becoming Arjunas. What to do, what not to do. Okay, we always get the states of conflictions. So scripts like Bhagavad Gita always play a role of Sri Krishna in our life. So the aim of the Bhagavad Gita is to purify the human intellect, to purify or to cleanse the human mind, because we acquire so much desires, we acquire some conceptions, some misconceptions. So then reading the Bhagavad Gita, reviewing Bhagavad Gita in different angle can give us the freedom from the limitations. All of us have some limitations. I'm attached to some desire. I want to get something fulfilled. There are some concepts in my mind which may be right, which may be wrong. Okay, so these are our limitations. So whenever we are reviewing Bhagavad Gita, it is a practical experience of so many people that they get rid of their limitations, or their maybe psychological or there may be intellectual issues. Okay, and then they lead towards the perfection. We are in the process of getting more and more perfection. Each and every human being on this earth is born here to become perfect, or born here to move towards the perfection. So whenever we are reviewing or learning or discussing Bhagavad Gita, it gives us more and more perfection, or we raised than the yesterday's level or than the past level, and that leads us towards the immortality. Now, what does this immortality means? Immortality means no death, right? If you take the word to word connection, immortality means freedom from my fear, freedom from my limitations, freedom from my bondages, because the human physical body is going to die one day. Okay, we cannot stop the death of a physical body, but in Bhagavad Gita it is discussed, or all the Indian wisdom keep on saying that there is no death for the spirit. Okay, there is no death. Body can die, but spirit cannot die, or spirit have no death, no birth. Okay, so whenever I'm saying ki when we are moving towards immortality, means we are moving away, or we are overcoming, or we are making our fears, we are making our limitations to die. In that way, I want to say that we are moving towards the immortality. This is the only aim of reading Bhagavad Gita, discussing, because Bhagavad Gita is not the first time in this Kali Yuga, or in this era we are discussing or we are learning. From the ancient times, Bhagavad Gita is always read, always discussed, always reviewed. So there is only one goal or aim of reading or reviewing Bhagavad Gita: to get purified, get freedom over the limitations, moving towards the perfection, and getting the immortality. Let's see the discuss about the objectives. This is our main aim or main goal. But talking about the objectives, Bhagavad Gita teaches, or why I want to read the Bhagavad Gita, or why I want to review the Bhagavad Gita: to avoid my conflictions. Each and every person has some kind of conflictions, maybe at professional level, maybe at personal level. He is bound, or he is caught up. He or she is caught up in conflictions. Every day we get up and we get the question, what should I do today, or what I should not do today, related to some kind of a job or some kind of a work. We get this kind of conflictions, whether should opt option one, or whether I should opt option two. So wherever this kind of conflictions are there, Bhagavad Gita can help me to avoid that. Okay, or to overcome the virtues and sins. Virtues, there are concepts of papa and punya. Depending on the background, cultural background, as well as the social background, each and every person has some concepts of the virtues and some concepts of the sin that keep on changing as time is passing, or as the world is moving. These concepts of virtues and sins keeps on changing, and we have to adopt that new or that concepts as we format our laptops, as we format our computer systems. These concepts of the virtues and sins has to be also formatted. If we will get stuck to the some kind of a virtues and concepts of virtues and sins, then it becomes difficult to adopt or to behave socially, or to interact with other people. So to overcome these virtues and sins, to adopt the changes in these concepts of virtues and sins, Bhagavad Gita can help us, or that is my another objective. Another very important objective is to cleanse the intellect. Intellect is the something that we learn from the childhood. Okay, as a child we learn something, as we grow up in the adulthood we learn something, we are learning something, okay, from the day one of our life. So that learning is a kind of a memory. It gets stored in our brain in the form of intellect, but that also can get corrupted. Okay, we can experience, or we can get exposed to right incidences, wrong incidences. We may conceive the things wrongly, we may conceive the things correctly. Okay, so this kind of any kind of pollution, or any kind of, if I'm accumulating any kind of wrong conceptions, to cleanse that, Bhagavad Gita is a always helpful text. Then the next important objective of Bhagavad Gita, that is to know the Swadharma. Why I am born here in this world, what the duties I have to perform. because this is the bitter truth that today, in today's era, everybody knows about their rights, but very few people know about their duties. Okay, so to know the Swadharma, Swadharma means our own duties. Okay. So to know the Swadharma, what the person, each and every person have to do in the society or have to behave in the society, that can be learned from the Bhagavad Gita. Then the next important objective, to get aware of the non-doership. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita continuously from the Sutra 1, it is giving a kind of a message. If you observe the 700 sutras or shlokas, the verses of Bhagavad Gita, directly or indirectly, each and every sutra or each and every verse is giving only one message, that adopt the non-doership. You are just an instrument. God, the Sri Krishna, is telling us, or the creator of this universe, being an Indian text, we will assume the God is as a Sri Krishna only, that the God is always telling us that you are an instrument. I am doing everything. I am the doer. I am the constructor of the universe. I am the creator of the universe. I am going to destroy the things. Okay, so He is doing. So if we want to always keep this, because we know, we learn these things and we keep on forgetting these things. So to get aware day by day, or maybe time to time, to get awareness that I am not the doer. The God is doing everything and I am just an instrument of the God. So to get aware of the non-doership, Bhagavad Gita is a very useful text, because whenever we adopt the doership attitude, the ego get boosted up. So to always keep this remembering that I am not a doer, I am not a doer, we have to keep on reviewing or reading the Bhagavad Gita from time to time. To know the glory of the ultimate reality, human beings have lot of limitations. Okay, for example, if I will watch an ant here, okay, whenever I am as a human being is watching the ant, I know that the ant has lot of limited restrictions, and I have so many glorified restrictions as compared to ant. Okay, so we are just a small individual or a small living persons on this small earth, in this small galaxy, in this small universe. Okay, we will have, if we will adopt the broader view, we are just like a point, or we are just like an ant in this multi-universal system. Okay, so and the God is so much glorious, He runs complete this universe, this multi-dimensional universe. Okay, so we are one part of this universe, our galaxy is one part of the universe, our solar system is one of the part of our galaxy, our planet earth is one of the part of this solar system, our country or our city is one part of this earth. Okay, so we are having a very small existence, but the God is running whole this multi-universe or multi-dimensional universe. So to know the glory of the ultimate reality, or to the glory of the God, if we want to really know who is God, one should read Bhagavad Gita always, or with different aspects. Then we come to know that how we are just a point, and how the God is great. Okay, so these are few important objectives of Bhagavad Gita: to avoid the conflicts in our life, to overcome the virtues and sins in our life, to cleanse the intellectual pollution, to know the Swadharma, or to know the own duty of a person, to get aware of the non-doership, that I am not doing anything. As we keep on reading Bhagavad Gita, we keep on getting more and more confident that I am not a doer. I am not a doer. Okay, that God is doing everything and I am just an instrument. And to know the glory, how the God is great. Okay, so here we are finishing the aim and objectives of Bhagavad Gita. Let's talk about the last slide. That is a contraindication. This is the verse in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 67 Sutra says that whenever, no, at the end, Arjuna was convinced that yes, I have to fight the battle. I have to fight the battle. So at that time, Krishna told Arjuna that I have discussed all these things with you. Now you should know that if you also can transfer or you also can transmit this knowledge to next generation or to next people, but you should know where you should not or to with whom you should not discuss all these things. Then at that time he is saying, idam te natapakasyaya na bhaktaya kadachana nashu shave vacham nachamam yo yobhya suyati. That means who deserve to learn Bhagavad Gita or who should not learn the Bhagavad Gita or who should not get introduced in this kind of discussions. The secret of this Bhagavad Gita should never be interpreted to a person who lacks the austerity, who don't want to contribute his contribution in the society, who don't want to work for the planet Earth, who don't want to work for the universe. With this kind of person, we should never discuss all these kind of things. Okay. A man who do not wish to devote, there are different kinds of people, okay, in the society. Some people have the devotions, some people want to stand down on their own feet. So basically Bhagavad Gita is one of the texts referred always in the bhakti yoga. Okay, so we know yoga has different streams like jnana yoga, raja yoga, bhakti yoga and karma yoga. So like that, Bhagavad Gita is one of the major texts or one of the major book of the Bhakti Yoga. The one who cannot surrender. Why we are not able to surrender? Because of our ego. We think that I am the doer of this planet. I am the maker of this society. I am maker of this my house, or I am maker of my company. Okay, so they can't devote in front of anyone, or they can't devote in front of the God. Okay, so the one who cannot adopt the concept of devotion, then it will be very difficult for that person to understand Bhagavad Gita. So basically, the man who do not wish to undergo the path of devotion, there is no meaning of discussing Bhagavad Gita with this person, with that kind of person. A man who is not willing to hear the glory of the God. As I said, as I referred the example, if the ant is saying that I am the creator of this universe, that is a lack of knowledge. This statement is completely a lack of knowledge. Like that only, we are saying that I am the boss of this my house, I am the boss of my society, I am the boss of my planet. The things has to get it done by according to me. These statements are completely based on ignorance or lack of knowledge, adnyan. So the man who don't want to hear the glory of the God, or who don't want to get explored towards the bigger aspect of the life, with such man or with this kind of attitude, we should not discuss Bhagavad Gita. A man who finds fault with me means Sri Krishna says that people who are atheist, basically, they don't believe in the God, or the people who don't believe in the concept of devotions, in the concept of God, in the concept of the creator, of this creation, of this creator. With such people, we should never discuss all these kinds of Bhagavad Gita concepts. So exactly, if we reverse this sutra, then we get that who deserves to learn the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, the man who is always walking on the path of austerity, the man who wish to walk on the path of devotion, bhakti yoga, the man who is willing to hear the glory of the God, and the man who finds or who have the extreme faith in the God, can we can discuss Bhagavad Gita with that person only. Okay, so thank you. Here we are ending with the introduction, and I am stopping the recordings. We'll restart it again.